Quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals are four-sided shapes. So quad meaning four, lateral meaning sides. There are different types of quadrilaterals, but usually we identify them based on their sides and their angles, any properties that they might share. Squares, for example, have four sides, so they're part of the quadrilaterals, but all sides are equal and all angles are equal. Specifically, all angles are right angles, meaning that they are 90 degrees. Rectangle has two pairs of parallel sides, and because they are parallel, that makes the opposite sides equal to each other. Additionally, they also have four right angles, as do squares. So a square can be considered a rectangle since it has all four sides and parallel sides. All four right angles and parallel sides. A rectangle cannot be considered a square since a square has to have all equal sides specifically, whereas a rectangle has to have two pairs of opposite equal sides. So this side has to be equal to this side has to be equal to this side, but these two sides do not necessarily have to be equal to one another. Rhombus is a quadrilateral, has four sides again, has two pairs of parallel sides. So similar to a rectangle or a square, opposite sides are parallel, meaning they run the same. Similar to a square, all sides are equal. However, different than the previous two quadrilaterals we've seen, they do not need right angles. However, their opposite angles are equal, so this angle is equal to this one, this angle is equal to this one. But again, this is not necessarily trapezoids. Trapezoid is a quadrilateral with one pair of parallel sides. So only the two bases are parallel to each other. And then there are other types of trapezoid. There's an isosceles trapezoid where these two sides, not the bases, but the two sides connecting the bases are equal to one another. There's also a right trapezoid where it has at least one right angle, but all the other sides can be any measurement, the angles can be any measurement. Parallelograms. Parallelogram has two pairs of parallel sides, similar to a square, a rectangle, and a rhombus. So all three of those are also called parallelograms. A parallelogram has opposite angles equal as well. So this angle is equal to this one. This angle is equal to this one. And again, because the opposite sides are parallel, then it makes the opposite sides congruent as well, so equal to each other. General overterm, so quadrilaterals. Then underneath quadrilaterals, we have parallelogram, kite, trapezoid. Parallelogram, again, they have both pairs of opposite sides parallel, both pairs of opposite sides congruent, both pairs of opposite angles are congruent, and other characteristics is that consecutive angles are supplementary and the diagonals bisect each other. So as you can see, under a parallelogram, we also have rectangle and rhombus, since both of these share properties of parallelogram. So all these properties here also apply to rectangles and to rhombi. A rectangle, an additional property to a rectangle, though, that a parallelogram doesn't necessarily have, is that diagonals are congruent and that they have four right angles. So a parallelogram can have this, but it won't be true for every single parallelogram, only when it happens to be a rectangle. Similarly, at rhombus, diagonals are perpendicular, and each diagonal bisects a pair of opposite angles, meaning that when the diagonal goes through the angles, it cuts them exactly in half. and it has 4 congruent sides. So all of its sides are equal. Again, these are properties specific to rhombi and not to parallelograms unless the parallelogram happens to be a rhombus. Then a square would go underneath both of these since it shares both of its properties. It has right angles, diagonals bisect each other, 4 congruent sides, and diagonals bisect opposite angles. Kite we didn't look at, but it's all on its own. Kite is like what you would imagine children play with, the kite. The kite is specifically when consecutive sides are equal. Its diagonals are perpendicular and its diagonals bisect its angles. Trapezoid, we saw it has exactly 1 pair of parallel sides, specifically the 2 bases, which is what you can kind of see here. It's kind of like a right trapezoid. This side is parallel to this side is not necessarily parallel to this side, and it has 1 right angle here, which could be underneath that, we have isosceles trapezoids. Isosceles trapezoids have congruent legs, so this has to be congruent to this, meaning that because it is isosceles, its opposite angles are also congruent, similar to an isosceles triangle, where it's 2 of its legs are congruent, meaning 2 of its base angles are congruent. And then when I draw the diagonal straight across through it, those diagonals are also congruent, meaning they have the same length. The distance from this point to this point is equal to the distance from this. Quadrilaterals. So that's quadrilaterals, and just a general overview.